Welcome back to Trip of Change, the Jackie Robinson Show podcast. Trip of Change is a weekly podcast hosted by Jackie Robinson and produced by Dana Bach, with some of the top thought leaders in the areas of LGBTQIA+, use of pronouns, gender identity, voting rights, intergenerational conversations, news, and feature interviews with industry leaders. Our goal is to provide listeners with key takeaways and actionable advice for having a better understanding of the people we interact with around the world. Let's start the show. Well, hello and good evening. This is Jackie Robinson, the host of the Trip of Change podcast with Jackie Robinson. That's me. And tonight we will be talking with two of my favorite small business owners, and we will get some insight in terms of how they are able to continue with their business, facing all kinds of obstacles and things of that nature. And so we will be talking with them. But before we get started, let's do what we normally do on the Trip of Change podcast show. And that is, we have to talk about our sponsor. And our sponsor is Healthful Essence. Healthful Essence is a Caribbean, soulful, vegan, vegetarian restaurant located here in Atlanta, Georgia at 875 York Street. They offer some of the best vegan, vegetarian food here in the Atlanta area, and we want you to go out and be sure to support them. You can order online because of the virus, we are doing more online ordering, and you can get a discount. You can get a discount if you order online with the Clover app. You can see here from the picture that they have some of the most delicious vegan vegetarian food. And what makes them different from other types of vegan vegetarian is that they use lots of herbs and spices from the Caribbean, which gives it a soulful flavor. So again, our sponsor for the Trip of Change podcast is Healthful Essence, and you can reach them online at healthfulessence.com. And also keep in mind that when you order online with the Clover app, you get a discount. Okay? All right. That is our Healthful Essence. And for us, you want to get in touch with us because we are looking for speakers or guests to be on our show for the month of May and June, because in April, Dana and I are headed to New York City. That's right, New York City. And we will be broadcasting live from New York. Oh, I forgot to show you this. Healthful Essence Vegan Vegetarian Soul Food Restaurant. There's their email address, healthfulessence.com. All right. Thank you so much, Healthful Essence. We appreciate you. We appreciate you. Now, for us, we would like for you to sign up to get our newsletter and get news about our upcoming podcast episodes. You can find us on Trip of Change, Facebook, Trip of Change, Instagram, Trip of Change, YouTube, also Trip of Change. Okay. All right. I see somebody to be added into this. Hey, girl. Hey, how you doing?
Hi.
Oh, you look good. You look good.
Well, I had a shower.
You had a what, darling?
Busy, where I play pickleball, we had the board of directors. Let me just get you on Tahiti.
Okay, girl, you freezing. Then I'll be back in a second. Okay. So, in the meantime, though, as we continue with our show, again, you can find us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Also, we support nonprofit organizations. And so, if you have a nonprofit organization that you would like to enter to us or send to us, all you're going to need to do is send an email to either myself, Jackie at tripplechange.com, or our co-host and producer of the Triple Change Show, Dana Bach. Okay. All right. Hey, Dana. Hey, you back?
Hey, I'm back. I'm on the right internet connectivity. But I was saying, we at the club I played pickleball at today, we hosted the board of directors. As you know, it's a big deal. So we hosted them for a pickleball clinic, and it lasted long, which is great. Good for
Somebody
pickleball.
was long-winded.
I was a little bit hustling to get here.
Oh, but you did. But you did.
And I showered. Yes.
We so glad.
Like, I
We
got
so
to look for
glad.
Jackie.
We so glad.
That's right.
Okay, well, we have two beautiful young women in the green room that we will introduce shortly because, you know, Dana and I have to do what we do before we get to you. And so the Triple Change podcast, we started out in February talking about gender pronouns. We talked about the LGBTQIA community. We talked about respect. We talked about what else we talked about, Dana? We talked about respect.
Women firsts. A lot of women first. We've been celebrating Women's History Month this month. We've been talking about trailblazers and warriors and amazing women that have been trailblazers in our history.
Yes. And so if you have not had a chance to listen to those podcasts where we featured women like Kerry Washington, uh uh who else? Diane Carroll. We talked about Sojourner Truth. We talked about Barbara Jordan. We talked about so many women in history that were pioneers. And so go back out to our YouTube channel, which is YouTube Trip of Change, and you can revisit those podcast episodes that we have already recorded and posted on our YouTube channel. So to close out Women's History Month, we will interview two young women who have charted a course of success in technology. And that's my area, technology. I've been in technology since Penny was a puppy. So I won't give the I won't give the year. So we have Sue Cerna, president of Social Cerna, and Isa Allen, founder of Digiline Consulting, because they have a story to tell of their journey, including the ups and downs and the strong desire and will to continue and to be successful. And so before we bring them on, I want to go here. We're going to do this, Dana.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because we've been talking about women in business. All right. And so, because it's National Women's History Month, we, in addition to the young women that we will bring on shortly, we want to give you some history of women in business. Now, I don't know if you all know about Bridget Biddy Mason. This woman was a real estate magnate and philanthropist in 1818. Okay, she was born into slavery, but her owner, who was a Mormon, decided to move to California, Dana, including Biddy. So they took Biddy with them. Okay, but she was free. Once she stepped over the border into California, she was free, but her master didn't tell her that. Okay, so eventually he told her that she was free, and she had to petition the court for her freedom. Now, that didn't stop Biddy, okay, because once she settled in Los Angeles, she worked as a nurse and a midwife after saving money for decades. And that's something, Dana, that we tell young people all the time. Now is the time to be saving money. And I want to reiterate that, because if you young people are relying on Social Security, trust me, as a person who receives Social Security, we are fighting right now to keep Social Security and Medicare from becoming privatized. So you need to start saving money now. Just put a little bit aside every now and then. Okay, so after she saved this money, she invested in real estate, and her wise investment made her a fortune, and she became a prominent citizen of Los Angeles. That's Bridget Biddy Mason. All right, who else we got, Dana?
We have next up, we have Lydia. Is it?
Pink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, some call her the Ann Landers. You remember? I don't know if you remember
I
Ann
do
Landers.
remember Landers. This, of course.
Okay. And
Yes.
and look, there's a show on YouTube about sexuality. I just started watching it, and it mentioned Dr. Ruth. Um and how Miss Pinkham was the Dr. Ruth of the 1800s. She had a vegetable compound which became one of the best known patent medicines of the 19th century. Uh Cooper's Laboratories bought the company. Look, in 1968, Dana. So this woman had been around since 1875
It's
to
amazing.
1968. Now, I'm not saying that she lived that long, but the company did. And so these are pioneer women in business. And a lot of times, Dana, we don't think back to the 1800s of women in business.
Right, right.
But thank God for Google, because you can find anything.
My
You can find
mom calls it,
anything
yes,
you
Google
want to
University.
find
Yes.
on Google. So now we're going to introduce our first guest, which is Sue Cerner. Hi, Sue.
Hi,
Hi, ladies.
Sue. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you for having
Welcome
me.
to Trip of Change.
Woohoo!
Welcome to Trip of Change. Okay. And this is Sue Cerner. And for many companies, and I understand this really a lot, social media was the wild, wild west, because, it started in the 90s. And unless people were up on it, they didn't understand it. They didn't really realize that they needed a .com. And then along came MySpace, Facebook, Twitter, and all these other social media platforms. And for people who had already been in business, they didn't understand it. And it was frightening. I know I wasn't scared, but it was frightening to a lot of people, and it was misunderstood. And I kind of understand the misunderstanding, Sue, because you're vulnerable when you're on the internet, when you're putting information out there, because www means what? World Wide Web. So your information is available to the whole world. So now Sue was the project lead and responsible for more than 360 channels. Now imagine that.
It's amazing.
360 channels, Sue, covering all facets of social media. B2B, which is business to business. B2C, which is business to consumer. Organic and paid on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Pinterest, and social media networks, not only in the United States, but in other countries, including WeChat and Weibo. Is that how you say it, Sue?
You got it, Weibo.
Weibo in China. In China, of all places. Okay, so this girl is international Sue. Okay. Now, she is a member of the National Institute of Social Media's Advisory Committee, as well as a member of Consultants Collective, a network of experienced independent executive consultants who come together on projects based to help organizations innovate, transform, and improve. Now, I like this part about you, Sue.
Okay. Uh-oh.
Sue, prior to working in social media, Sue was a journalist for
Mm-hmm.
10 years, reporting on retail, consumer trends, and the economy. And so Dana, she would fit right in as a journalist to write us a Trip or Change article for the website, huh?
We might be sending her an invitation to do just that.
I already did.
I'm pretty sure I already got that note.
She already got that note. Okay.
Quick. Yes.
So that's Sue. So hold on, Sue, for a second. And we'll start the lively discussion. But now I want to talk some more about I'm sorry. And there are her services, large and enterprise businesses, training, small and mid-sized businesses. And when we bring on Aja, you two ladies need to get together and collaborate on some things because she is fantastic in the things that she does, and so are you. Okay. And so that's Sue Cerna. Now, let's talk some more about women in business before I bring in Aja. Okay, we all know this one, Madam C.J. Walker. And we've seen the movies on Netflix or whatever. But she was considered the 20th century's most successful woman entrepreneur. Madam C.J. Walker built her empire out of nothing. Y'all hear that? Nothing. Her parents were former slaves and she was orphaned at the age of 7. And so the trip of change and what we're going to be talking about, that fits into these women back in the 1800s where they faced all kind of adversities, but they continued on. And in 1905, Miss Walker created the wonderful hair grower. Okay. Now, her hard work and perseverance carved a path for women entrepreneurs. Okay. The African American hair care and cosmetic industry and the African American community at whole. Now, what I like, Dana, about Madam C.J. Walker is that she did not just operate solo and sell products. What she did was she offered other women an opportunity to be sales reps. In other words, they also had an opportunity to be able to make money. And so we applaud Madam C.J. Walker. Okay.
Yes, and I haven't watched that mini series on her yet, so it's a great reminder to me to put that on my list.
Yeah, it's very good. It's very good, and it gives you some insight in terms of the things that she had to go through and her competition. I think that's what I like the most about it too, was that competition. Okay. All right. So now I forgot about Miss. Oh, we like this one. This was Ma Perkins. Anybody remember Ma Perkins?
I do not.
1933, Dana. She was a radio legend who captured the hearts of Americans with her kindness and down-to-earth point of view. Actress Virginia Payne brought the character Ma Perkins, also known as America's Mother of the Air, to life in more than 7,000 episodes. What episode are we on? Number 9? We're on number 9.
Yes,
okay.
Yeah.
Ma Perkins had 7,000 on her radio soap opera. Dana, we need to come up with a soap opera.
Oh.
Okay, she was born in Cincinnati and she made her debut at 23. The show ran on NBC and CBS until 1960. And Payne played the title role over the show's entire span. She was there the whole time. She died recently or some years ago in 1977, 11 years before she and her alter ego, Ma Perkins, were inducted into the Radio Hall of Fame. And so we think we just getting started. Dana, we think we just getting started with the podcasting. Okay, but Ma Perkins was doing it. Ma Perkins was doing it back in the day. All right, so let's add to the stream. Hello there, Aja.
Hi. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi there.
And welcome to Trip of Change.
Thank you.
Aja, founder of Digiline, she noticed a trend among small business owners where they would reach a point where they wanted to expand but were uncertain of how to do so. I know that feeling, Aja. That single observation inspired a solution, Sue, designed to bridge a knowledge and resources gap for new and existing businesses. Okay. A true entrepreneur at heart, Aja is dedicated to helping small businesses reach new levels because she understands how much time and effort it takes to run a small business. Dana, we know that too, don't we?
Yes, we do. Yes.
Sue, we know that too, don't we?
Everyone here knows that. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And just how much support is needed. And that's why we have you young women on with us today to talk about your businesses. But let me finish with Aja. Now, Aja is a native of Washington, D.C., the metro area. She is a certified member of the Project Management Institute and scholar of the Master of Business Administration, MBA, for those who don't know what that is, Master of Arts in Strategic Communications and Digital Marketing, and a Bachelor's of Arts for Studies in Communications and Marketing Management. This girl got paper, okay? She's got paper. All right. Now, something, Dana, that was very interesting was that Aja just completed a trip to Africa, and we are excited to
Yes.
hear all about it. All right.
Yes.
So that was there you are. That's correct, right, Aja?
Yes, ma'am. That's all right.
Okay, wonderful. Wonderful. So welcome to Trip of Change.
Woo!
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
I want to say that I've been doing this kind of stuff for a long time. I've been Kazaz, I've been Sweet Smart, I've been DMI, which was Data Management Solutions Incorporated. I think that was the first one. I think that was 1989 or 90, way back in the day. I've been hot and mobile. I'm still hot and mobile. Okay. Wise boomer chick. I'm still a wise boomer chick. But what happened recently is my dear friend Dana and I took a trip to Las Vegas, and she noticed some things about your girl Jackie Robinson, and she said, "You know what? We need to do a Trip of Change podcast." And so here we are. Now, I mention that because we talk about Trip of Change and how we go through life having been raised by people who share with us, the children, their experiences, their what they know in life, and those things are transferred to us. But as we've been doing Trip of Change, Dana, we are coming to the understanding that we are total individuals. We are total spirits that have our own consciousness, and we can be whatever we want to be. We are not limited to what society describes or what society labels us as. And so with Trip of Change, what we want to talk about is as you young women go through business, trying to grow your business, trying to help people, and at the same time trying to make money, right? Because you got to make money.
A little bit.
You got to pay your bills, and so, there's been some ups and downs, and that's what we want to talk about, right, Dana?
Yes.
And so I'll ask this first question. And this is just pretty much, it's not like, okay, whoever wants to speak, you go ahead and speak, and we'll be respectful. But what impact do you want to have on the world? Sue.
Way to start with a small question.
Right?
I mean, I think my real answer is, like, from a professional standpoint, is I want companies to understand that social media is a major thing that deserves a seat at the table, same as communication, same as marketing, same as HR, right? Fill in the blank department, right? Social media needs to be at that level at major corporations. We're getting there. We're not quite there yet. A lot of times social is still, the ugly stepchild in the broom closet, right? We got to fix that. And companies, quite honestly, that don't get it are going to be left behind, and it's coming really fast. So that's my professional goal. My personal goal is I want to save all the puppies, but
Oh, I love that. Yes. You and Betty White. Yes.
love puppies.
Bless her heart, bless her soul, rest herself. Yes. Okay, so those are very good. I think I got out of that from a business standpoint, based on your experiences and the things that you've learned, you want to help other people. And then your personal goal is to help the puppies, help the
Love
dogs.
doggies. Yep.
All right. So Miss Aja, what about you? What impact do you want to have on the world?
Yeah, I apologize to your viewers and to you all. I'm a little under the weather, so I apologize if it's difficult to understand me. But it's interesting. I just had this conversation on purpose, uh, and my purpose statement that I came on with at the end of the conversation, it mixed professional and personal because for me it's one and the same. And I came up with my purpose or the impact that I want to have is number one, I want to help Black people and other Black people across the diaspora, so across the world, and young girls. So these are two different groups, but I want to help these two groups. Number one, know that they can do whatever they want to do, with the right tools and resources and the right mindset, but also to advance using those right resources. And in my case, a lot of those resources are digital or tech, right? So my entire purpose, professionally and personally, are to help Black folk and young girls advance and know they can do whatever they want to do if they have the right mindset.
Oh, let me say, Aja, that I know Dana, the producer of the show, told me that you were feeling under the weather. And I got to thank you and tell you how much I appreciate you coming on the show and talk about the trip of change and the things that you all have gone through and what you've gone through as a young woman in business. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much. Both of you.
I would drive. I'll see my lipstick a little. I wanted to a little lipstick. Okay. All right. That's how we do it on Trip of Change.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So yeah, impacting the world. In order to do that, we have lessons in life. We go through life, and there will be a podcast that I will talk about how I live my life in 10-year increments. And right now, I'm in the last of my 60s. I just celebrated my 69th birthday, maybe about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And so this is it. This is it for the 60s. And then the next thing you know, when I need to sign up for something online and it says, what is your birth year? I'm going to have to scroll down a little bit further to get to 1953. And so as I go from 10 years to 10 years, there are things in that 10-year period, Sue and Aja, that I take with me into the next 10 years. If it was not beneficial, I leave it. And so the next question that I have for both of you, and to you, Dana, maybe Dana, you can answer this one too.
Okay.
What are two important life lessons that you have received? Isaac?
Wow, coming out with the big ones. My goodness, I've gotten a lot, but
I can give you a minute to think if you want.
Okay.
Oh, that's so kind of you, Sue.
Right. I'll take that minute.
So for me, one of those lessons was actually my very first job, my very first like real job out of college, right? I was a journalist. I was a cub reporter in a newsroom, and I was assigned a newsroom mentor who was, 20-year grizzled veteran type of guy, right? And I don't know if I have OCD, but I am very detail oriented, and I am very, very like organized, and little things really bother me. And so I would drive the copy desk crazy. I would call in at 7 or 8 o'clock at night and go, "Can we change the to Would that be okay?" And like the copy desk just wanted to kill me. And at one point, my mentor, John, he said, "Sue, writing is like painting. At some point, you just have to decide you're done." And I thought that was so brilliant. And it's 25 years later. It's stuck with me through my whole entire career. Most of my career has had to do with content creation in some form. And you have to just decide you're done is really good advice. And it stuck with me. The other thing, I think has come out of the transition that I made 2 years ago when I left my big corporate gig where I was in charge of 300 social media accounts and started my own company. And it's really like, I'm going to not spend a lot of time or energy doing things that I don't think benefit me. Right. And that doesn't mean be selfish, and that doesn't mean be not generous, but it does mean spend your time the way that is going to matter the most to you, and spend your time in ways that are the most fulfilling to you personally. And so now 2 years later, I look back on my corporate gig. It was an amazing experience. I wouldn't trade it for the world. Learned a ton, met a bunch of great people. But now on the other side of it, I'm kind of like, no, now in my mid 40s, I really want to spend my time on things that I think matter and that make me feel like I'm contributing what I want to contribute. Right.
Those are good. And
I
you're
like that a lot.
absolutely right.
Yeah.
Right, Dana?
Yeah. And I can go next. I had the opportunity to work in advertising when I was. I started off working on Capitol Hill in DC. So my degree was political science, and I had an opportunity to work at an advertising agency called Wyden and Kennedy. I worked on the Nike account and the Coca-Cola account and the Microsoft account and lots of big accounts. And I always thought like, oh, I'm going to start my own business one day, because if I can work this hard for somebody else, I can work this hard for myself. And so I did start my own business after I left advertising. And I realized how hard it is. I felt, to work and run your own business and run so many aspects of it with employees. And I was working on manufacturing, and there's so many things that were going on. I was like, oh gosh, I didn't know what I was talking about back then. That, and I know all the, as Wyden and Kennedy evolved and grew around the world. And we went from one agency in Portland to New York. And then now it has 7 locations, and just all the work and all the weight that those partners carried on their shoulders. I didn't give them as much credit at the time. Then once I did it myself, I was like, oh, this is way more work than I ever thought.
Yeah.
Very rewarding at the same time too. And the other piece of advice I get from my dad, who's been saying it my whole life. So when I was young, I was like, didn't give it any credit. And now I say it all the time, slow and steady wins the race. And when I was younger, I was like, no, I got to go. I got to, time's being wasted. And now I'm just like telling my kids, slow and steady wins the race. And they look at me and kind of, but slow and steady does win the race. Yes.
Slow and steady does win the race. Now I don't have too many, but I know as Sue was talking, something that came to my mind. I remember this lesson, Sue, that I learned when I was a consultant for the Atlanta airport, and they were working on a $5.5 billion airport expansion project. Now, my job was to gather all the information from the engineers, the architects, and do a presentation. And I showed up at the presentation with the general manager of the airport and all these important people 30 minutes before the presentation started. And that was not enough time because we had a major fail. So that made me look bad. That made my boss look bad. And so the lesson that I learned from that is when you're doing any type of presentation, especially for other people, you need to be there at least an hour, hour and a half before time to make sure that everything is working properly, right?
Prep, prep, prep.
Prep.
Yeah.
Okay. And so it is with what we do as solopreneurs or entrepreneurs. We have to prep. So we have to make sure that we have everything in place. The other thing, I used to do troubleshooting, and I know this is all tech stuff. I didn't do anything, say anything personal, but the other thing is when you're troubleshooting, sometimes we have a tendency to look at the top, we're looking at the bottom, we're looking left, we're looking right, when the answer is right there in front of you in the middle. And
That would
so
never happen.
I had a project manager, Sue, tell me, I think I spent hours trying to figure this thing out. And finally, he said to me, look to the middle. And once I looked to the middle, it was right there in front of me, right there in front of me. And so sometimes we can spend a lot of times going all around when the answer is right there. All
That's
right,
true.
Miss Aja.
Well, now that you all just said a bunch of amazing things, I'll try to follow up. First of all, everything that you all said, I 100% agree with. And to Dana's earlier point about what your dad told you, I mentioned something my father told me when I was little constantly. And it's kind of related to my purpose that I mentioned earlier. He would always say to me, he would always drill into me, he would say, Aja, you're destined for greatness. He would say that constantly, constantly, constantly. And when you're little, you believe anything your parents say anyway. um, but that in particular, he said it so much that I believe it, right? Uh, he put that message into me early, and it kind of shaped how I chose to move through, secondary school, primary school, and so forth.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, yeah. He said it to my nieces and nephews who are little now too. That's just his thing. But um, what that told me is that the words that you say to people, the things that you fill people with, as far as what you say to them, they really do matter. And they
That's
can
true.
take somebody from, I mean, can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. They can take someone from the bottom because we never know what people are going through to the next level to where they're, who knows, a millionaire, whatever they aspire to be. But those
Absolutely.
words really are important. Um, and my second thing, this relates to what Sue said. My second thing is to use your resources. And why that is so gosh darn important is because, particularly for solopreneurs just starting out, or someone just starting their business, we got all these responsibilities, and we put all these things onto our plate. Where it's like you don't have to do all that. You know what I mean? Scale it back, simplify it, use the talent around you, use the resources around you. And so what Steve said earlier, hey, if you want to not do so much, then you don't have to. Why could you work for yourself then, right?
Right.
So using your resources is definitely a life lesson that I even try to preach or tell folks myself, but I definitely have to learn and relearn myself.
And I agree with you, Aja, because sometimes, when you are what do they call it? A personality, or I think it's
Type
Type
A.
A. Mhm.
and you're talented, right? You have many gifts. A lot of times you end up doing stuff by yourself because you feel like somebody else is just not gonna do it the way I need it to be done.
Yep.
And you end up doing it yourself, or I don't have time to train somebody how
Right.
to do this. But I think for me, my trip of change from December of last year is that you can't always do it by yourself. And so what Dana has shown me is that you partner. You partner up and you find somebody who might be able to lend to your weaknesses and you lend to their weaknesses. And so I thought Aja and Sue, because you young women are in technology, I want you all to get together later on and have a discussion and talk about maybe some of the things that you all can collaborate with. Um, to partner, okay, and come up with ideas where you both can benefit. And it's because it's important to recognize your weaknesses
Mhm.
and how to turn them into strengths. Now, I know for me, being the oldest of three children in my family, I had to take care of my brothers. And so I couldn't show weakness. I had to always show strength. And even as I worked through all these different companies, Sue, over the years, I had to show strength. I could not show weakness. And it's not until I'm now in damn near 70 years old, and Dana and I are doing this trip of change, is that I can be weak if I want to.
That's right.
Okay.
We
I
like to
can
use
be strong if
vulnerability.
I want to.
Right.
Pretty much, I could do anything I want to. But Dana, I gotta be honest about it. Aja and Sue, I gotta be honest about it. I collect checks every month. Since I've retired, I collect checks every month, which gives me a peace of mind knowing that I will have a roof over my head. I will have food to eat. If I want to buy another domain name, I got a couple of chunks of change to where I can do that, right? And so, you have to use your weaknesses and turn them into strengths. Dana, how have you done that?
Well, we were talking the other day just about, I look at it more as allowing yourself to be vulnerable in a situation, I had a situation the other day where we were out to dinner on spring break, and the boys, all they wanted to do was go back up to the room and go play on their Xbox. And I was kind of bummed. And I let them know it because that's sometimes what we do as parents. And anyway, I thought about it. And the next day I said, hey, we really want to apologize to you because I really wanted to share that meal with you. And I really wanted us to have a family meal together. And I really wanted that. So it was me putting that on you and without me sharing the expectations. So I want to tell you, I'm sorry for that because Sue and Aja, I don't know if you both know, but I went through a cancer battle during COVID. And so I'm coming out of it and restarting my life. And sometimes no one reads my thoughts like I think they should. And so I had to put myself and be vulnerable and share my position on that with my kids. And it turned out to be a really great situation. And, they're like, oh, we get you, Mom. It's all good, But so I think that we need to just realize we're human. And sometimes we're going to make a mistake here or there or anywhere. And, it's okay to apologize and to own it.
Mm-hmm.
That's so true. And for Aja and Sue, we can make mistakes in business. Like, okay, I made a big mistake today. I was producing a podcast at 3 o'clock this afternoon. And we had done a run through 2 days ago. So I was all set up and ready to go. But it was a wrong day for me to be doing their podcast when I'm doing my podcast. And so Dana, what happened was I accidentally clicked show live on Facebook. And then it said, well, we don't know where you are on Facebook. Now I got all these people and it's already started and it's like it's not recording because if you know StreamYard, you got to click that button to record. So it's not recording. So I'm sitting there going, these people are talking and the shit ain't being recorded. Okay, so I sent a text message, y'all not being recorded. I need y'all to pause, but nobody read it, right? And so thank God it was only 25-minute podcast. I had to admit that I had done something wrong and that we need to get all these people back together again and redo this thing. And so, how easy is it, Aja, to admit when you're wrong and to show that you do have some weaknesses, but to turn those into strengths? Because as a business owner, that's different than being like a person having a personal relationship. you're dealing with customers and clients and prospects and vendors, and so how do you handle that?
Well, on the personal side, I not so much, but or not so well. But I've learned even when I was just starting out in the corporate world that the more transparent you are, honestly, the more people appreciate it. Um,
Yes.
Just something as simple as I always remember being the one to always raise my hand to ask questions in undergrad because nobody else will ask questions, but I would be the basically the annoying student who asked a million questions, but there were questions that other people wanted to know, right? And I would uncover a lot of stuff, and I took that with me. I still do it. I ask a ton of questions, and I'm also quick to say if I don't know something, um, because I very distinctly remember a time where I was doing some project work, and I guess I don't know what it was, all ego, I suppose. Well, I wanted to show up and be this big, amazing project manager, digital project manager. When in reality, I had no idea what was going on, right? And that cost me, and it cost the project. When it could have all been avoided had I just said up front, well, I'm not super clear on this. Can you point me to the right stakeholder to discuss X, Y, Z? Or I don't know, what's the requirement here? Can you give me more detail? Simple questions. Simple questions. Nobody cares. Nobody, particularly in the beginning, right? Nobody is going to judge you. If anything, they expect you to not know, especially if you're new to a project, you're new to a company, new to a client, whatever. Folks want you to ask questions, right? Like if you don't ask questions, then they're kind of side eyeing you, like why is this person act right? Like why aren't you asking more information? So I learned that early on. And so to answer your question, it's a lot easier for me now for the simple reason that I want to avoid number one project failures. Um, but also I find that it makes people a lot more willing to talk to you because they feel that you don't have anything to prove or you're easier to talk to, I guess. But so that helps build relationships up front. So yeah, to answer your question, Jackie, I'm all for showing what I don't know
Yeah.
to avoid mistakes. You know.
Sue?
Yeah, I mean, to add on there, I think for a woman especially, right? If you're a woman entrepreneur, um, it's easy to mistake being vulnerable and transparent with being weak, right? And you don't want to do that, right? It's not the same thing. I am, not to sound like I have a giant head, but I am a leading expert in the social media space, especially when it comes to social media safety and security, right? And I can walk around with my big head and say that, right? But I certainly do not know all the answers. I certainly do not have all the information. My particular space changes so fast that it's literally impossible for one person to know everything. And, coming in with that perspective, I think honestly gets me more credibility and more credit with clients than not, right? Because it's honest and they get like, yeah, this is a huge evolving space. Why would one person know everything, right? And I think that comes off as much more genuine, honestly. The other thing I'll say, I mentioned I might be a little OCD. I'm also like, if you take a strength finder test, my number one strength is achiever, which is like, I must accomplish something every single day to feel satisfied. I
That's
have a
me.
feeling there might be some other achievers on this phone call. You know, but that's another thing. Like it's a strength and a weakness simultaneously. And I think as an entrepreneur, you have to learn how your strengths can be real strengths and when they start to hurt you, right?
Yes.
Let me touch on something, and that's very good, Sue. You're absolutely right. Okay, let me touch on something that I just said when in dealing with clients or prospects. I know I had to develop what I call my project estimate worksheet. And that project estimate worksheet was divided into about 4 or 5 sections. The first section was contact information. The second section was what is it that you want? You want a website? Okay, do you already have a domain name? Do you already have hosting? I had to have a whole set of questions. Then it went to, okay, Are you on social media? Do you have all of these different platforms? Okay. Then it was, do you require print? Do you need business cards? Do you need web banners? And so then it was like, it almost turned into like 4 pages of a project estimate worksheet. But it helped me. And it also, Sue and Aja, gave the client a wonderful feeling about, I knew what I was talking about. I knew what I was doing because I'm asking you all of these questions. And now what made that also helpful was because whatever you selected, I could price it.
Right.
I could price it without guessing, because sometimes what would happen, especially with a website project, is that I get people and I do the project and then they pay me and then they come back. They have like 10 or 15 or 20 different things that they want done that was not included in the original scope of work. But because I did not have that project estimate worksheet, the executive summary to tell you exactly what we're going to do, then they felt that they could tell me what they needed to have done and not pay me extra. Okay. And so we had to put an end to that. And so that was one of my weaknesses, but I turned that into a strength. Okay. By having what I called a project estimate worksheet. And for those people who complained about the fact that it was 4 or 5 pages, you also have to determine who's a good client for you.
Yes.
Oh, amen.
Right?
Right? So you got people complaining before they even sign the agreement. You may want to have second or third thoughts about whether or not that's a good client.
Yep.
Okay?
Some of the best advice I got when I went out on my own was, just because someone wants to do business with you does not mean you have to accept.
Right?
True.
Right. Right. Especially when you have a brand to protect, Aja, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, to Sue's point, I shortened my discovery call from 30 minutes to 15. You can pretty much tell within the first few minutes. Within the first few minutes.
You went from 15 to 3?
My discovery calls used to be 30 minutes and I shortened them to 15. You can tell pretty much right away who's an ideal client, who's going to waste your time, or who's going to ask for, the sun, the moon, and the sky, but uncomfortable with the price.
But has no budget, right?
Right, yeah.
It has no budget. And that was a lesson too, is that even if it's just a simple phone call, somebody calls me and says, you know what, Jack, we need you to do what you. Okay, what is your budget? That's it. And that's a good question to ask without telling them how much it's going to cost. What's your budget? And now here's the other thing. I got to the point where, okay, if it's not in your budget, I'm not going to just say you can't afford me. Let's look at what you're asking for. And maybe we can take out some stuff that we can do later, prioritize later, and stay within your budget. Okay. Because as a small business owner, we just can't be turning down too many projects.
Well, the other thing that happens when you do that too is, I find frequently that clients will go through that exercise. They'll say like, no, we trimmed off the fat and I really need these 6 things. And you're telling me this is what this costs. And then they go find you more budget, right?
Find me more money.
But you have to get paid what you're worth. I think that's another really big learning. People have asked me like, why is my hourly rate so high? And I'm like, because I'm not like an intern coming out of school with no experience. I have 20 years of experience. I've been doing social media since MySpace was like popular. Like, that's what you're paying for, and I have refused to change my rate, even though several people have told me to. And you know what? I have plenty of work and plenty of work.
That's awesome. Yes.
That's good. That's good. Because sometimes people like that high price. They think they're giving the best or whatever. So they may be willing to pay it. And if it's too low, they may think like, oh, they may not know what they're doing. The price is too cheap.
Yep.
Okay. All right. This brings me to this part of the discussion in terms of when we have situations, it's like Dana was saying that she thought about her conversation at dinner with the kids and she just didn't dismiss it. She thought about it and she went to rectify the situation by talking, having conversations. A lot of times, some of us hold that stuff in. Okay, we don't talk about it, and it may build Sue into a pressure cooker. Okay, but we don't want that because when you're in business and you're dealing with so many things, or just even in personal life relationships, and you're dealing with so many things, it's like how do you release your inner talents, right? And elevate your consciousness to think of succeeding because all that other stuff can bog you down.
Hmm.
You can get depressed. You can feel like giving up. Okay, so what are some of the things that you all do to keep you motivated and to keep you pushing and to keep you going? I wrote
Mhm.
down affirmations, meditation, exercise, reading, keeping a journal, drinking a lot of water,
Oh,
planning and organizing, a healthy diet. And one thing that I always tell people is smile. What you
absolutely.
guys got for me?
Well,
Go ahead, Aja.
good. Okay. Are you sure?
Yeah, go.
Um, well, you know what? This is one thing that is a constant reminder, actually. I just recently crafted a self care plan. Um, I like to think that I was doing self care before, but I really wasn't. I literally would, I'll just give you a backdrop of what it used to look like. I would literally get up, maybe 6 a.m. and be working till about midnight, and
Mhm.
maybe eat like once at like 10 p.m. and then go to bed after I finally close my laptop or whatever. And that was the norm for me. But it didn't dawn on me that that was really not healthy until I told other people out loud. And they would look at me like I was crazy. But also my health, as you all can, I've already told you, I'm not feeling the best right now. But my health, my body reminds me constantly, like, you need to slow down. You need to, get some rest. So my self care routine now, number one, it reminds me that, okay, Audra, it's okay to go to bed at 10 p.m. as opposed to midnight. It's okay to stop working at 7 or 8 p.m. As opposed to midnight. And oh, hey, you should probably eat breakfast and a decent lunch or a decent dinner. You know, things that are normal for, I guess, normal people. um, but things that I guess, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, we need to remind ourselves constantly that we come first. And again, we don't work for anybody else. We work for ourselves. So how our schedule looks is completely up to us. So to answer your question, my self care routine, I get up early or get up around 6, 7. But I don't beat myself up if I happen to get up around 8. Hey, it is what it is. Um, and I make sure I have breakfast. I'll do a midday break. I stop around 7 or 8 p.m. And at the end of that, I make sure that I either read or do something else. Like I have a crochet set. I love to crochet. It's very relaxing. In the mornings, I meditate, and I do yoga or my exercise routine. So those things I make sure that I do. But it's also very refreshing to speak to fellow entrepreneurs, periodically because we have that same vigor, right? We have that same motivation. We have that same level of understanding. And so usually when I talk to fellow entrepreneurs, it gets my motivation up and running again. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's what I do. I'm doing my best to stick to my self care routine, folks. So.
That's
That's
good. A
great.
Good.
self-care routine. That's excellent. Now let me just add one thing to your self-care routine, Aja. I stopped working on Sundays.
Oh yeah.
Totally.
I give up one day at least.
Unless it's an emergency, somebody's site has gone down, there's a link missing, if there's something has happened that's an emergency, I let everybody know I don't work on Sundays. Whether I'm at church or not, I'm just not going to do things on Sunday. I have to have a day to myself. What about you, Sue?
Couple things. One is I have a Peloton bike. I ride 6 days a week. Like no matter what's going on, I can find myself an hour. I'm gonna ride my bike. Like there's a reason that most Fortune 500 CEOs are like crazy workout nuts, like you need it to counterbalance all the stress and everything. So I am by no means an exercise freak, but I love my bike and I ride as much as I can. I also had to find some real boundaries, because I do social media, I'm on a screen all the time. And then you're watching TV or you're scrolling on Facebook for your personal self. Like I was on a screen so much that my eyes were starting to have issues and and I finally just had to be like, you know what? Boundaries. I'm going to have a working day. Like unless there's an emergency or I need to really crank away on a project, I'm going to quit around dinner time and stop, and go do other things. So there's boundaries, there's the exercise, and then I also made a mental shift, which was really key for me. I started telling my team at work, this is when I was still at a corporation, you have to assume that most people are acting with good intent, even if the thing they did to you is horrendous, right? Or is just like so awful you can't believe it. Most of the time, people are acting with good intentions and there's a miscommunication, there's a misunderstanding, something's not getting conveyed the right way. But most of the time, people are not out to screw you, right? Most of the time. Making that change, we were talking about anger and stress and letting things bottle up, right? Like making that mental change was really beneficial for me because it's like, no, you can't. I mean, I'm by nature a pessimist, but like you can't always assume people are out to get you or assume people are out to do you harm. And when you actually assume the opposite, things get so much better in that realm. They just do.
So Sue, you just answered the next question, which would have been, what has been your trip of change? Because this is what this podcast is. It's a trip of change, and we all go through the day. Something impacts our lives and may change our way of thinking. And so you brought up a good one because you're right. You can work in corporate America and have a cube next to somebody or be on a cube farm where there's 5 or 6 of you. And, everybody's not going to like you. Everybody's not going to get along. But in order for your own peace of mind, do not always think that whatever's going on with Becky over there, that is something that's just trying to get you.
Right. Or she did it on purpose.
You're supposed to be
right,
doing.
right.
You ain't got to worry about what Becky is doing. So
exactly.
to you, that was, isn't this right, Dana? A trip of change.
Yes.
That was a trip of change.
Yes.
Yep.
I always say, and Jackie and I talk about these things, I say to my boys, and I said, I need to start saying this to myself, but the most important relationship you can have is with yourself.
Absolutely.
And so then when that comes, he's like, maybe Becky is being snarky, but it doesn't bother me anymore because I'm just doing me and talking about taking those barriers away and not letting them kind of box you in. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to just get in my flow and, plug in.
Otherwise you get super spun up, right? And all those negative feelings come in and then you're just like all wound up with no place to go, right?
Right.
Aja?
I was disagreeing, co-signing in the background.
Okay.
I was saying, I just said the other day, you're gonna have to be mad by yourself because I'm not willing to be mad with you. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I disagree with everything that you all just said.
So the other thing too is when you're motivated. See, when you're motivated, okay, whether you're in business for yourself or you're working in corporate America or in some office. And see, because me, myself, I had that same experience. I'm 61 years old, just starting a job, right? As a communications director for a country club. Now I caught all kind of flack, all kind of hell, all kind of shit from the left and the right, the up and the down. Okay, but unlike in past times, Dana, where I could have said, you know what, the hell with this job. I was looking when I found it, right? I had to say to myself that whatever is going on with anybody else, it has absolutely nothing to do with me. Why? Because why am I here? I'm here to collect a paycheck every 2 weeks. And if you fall into what everybody else is doing, then understand, they're gonna come for you. They're not gonna come for them, they're gonna come for you. So you need to just make sure that whatever's going on, just brush it off your shoulder and stick with the plan, Aja. That's what I had to do, and I was successful at it. And so
Mhm.
we really appreciate um Aja and Sue coming on. I know you young women because we've interacted before. I've been on Aja's show, and Sue was on one of my other podcasts. And so I really again appreciate you all taking the time out this evening to spend with me and Dana. So thank you so much. But now I think what I want to do to tell us real quickly about your trip in
Yeah.
Africa.
Yes, please.
Oh wow, really quickly, huh? It was great. It was amazing. In particular for Black Americans, I always encourage Black folks here to. I'm currently in DC. I always encourage um, our community to venture to Africa, to the motherland at least once in life, right? Um, but I went recently. I was there for a few months in West Africa. I went to Ivory Coast, Ghana, and Togo. Um,
Excuse me, is that Cote d'Ivoire?
yes, ma'am, Cote d'Ivoire.
Thank you very much.
I this is my second time going to the motherland, however, so I wasn't. I was familiar, but this time I stayed much longer. I was able to build business connections, but also just like unwind and relax, and it was just a wonderful experience overall. I will say in Cote d'Ivoire, Abidjan is a major city, right? So it's not like a huge difference from like New York City or another major city. But Togo and the beach side of Ivory Coast was much more relaxing, very very much slower, very chill. I was with a group. Yeah, it was just wonderful, a wonderful time. If anybody wants to go, I'm soon to own property there, so you're welcome to stay at my property.
Wow, Jackie, we could broadcast from there.
Well,
Oh,
you
that
know
would
what?
be cool.
I've got friends in Cote d'Ivoire. That's why I said Cote d'Ivoire, Aja, because everybody else calls it the Ivory Coast, but my
Mhm.
friends call it Cote d'Ivoire, and they've been trying to get me to come over there and visit for the last 10 years. Okay, so we got to put that on our list.
Yes, yes.
Well, Cote d'Ivoire is the French version. Cote d'Ivoire is a French speaking. So if you, I speak a little French. I wanted to learn some French before I went over there. And my boyfriend speaks French, so that was helpful. But yeah, it's French speaking. So FYI. But Ghana is English speaking. So it's helpful.
Okay.
Interesting.
Mhm.
All right. So thank you so much. Now, if you want to get in touch with Sue, here is her contact information. Sue Cerna, social media consultant at cernasocial.com. And she's Sue at cernasocial.com. Be sure to reach out to her. And Miss Aja is Aja Allen at www.digitaline.com and A Allen at digitaline.com. That's how you get in
Woo.
touch. Right? There's Sue and there's Aja. Dana and I appreciate so much you coming on
Thank you so much.
Our
to the
pleasure.
show.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Lori.
And I will be in touch because now you are now ambassadors of influence for Trip of Change.
Woo.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for
Thank
joining me.
you.
Ladies, happy Women's History Month.
Happy
Yes.
Women's History Month.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank
Alrighty.
you.
Bye. Thanks for joining.
All
How great
right.
was that? That was so fun. So inspiring.
Very much so. Very much so. And I like that part where Sue talked about that mental change. She said change. She said mental.
Yes, yes.
That was a trip
Trip
of
of change.
change.
That's right.
Right. Because
Yeah.
it doesn't always have to be physical. It can
No.
be a mental trip of change. All
Yeah.
right. So I really, Dana, that was really good to talk to these young women who are really working hard to be successful in their business. And one of the things that I want to share with the audience or leave with the audience is that it is very important to cultivate friendships, whether it's personal or business, that make you feel good.
Yes.
Okay, that make you feel good, right? And let
Lift you
go,
up.
let go, let go, let go gently. Those that don't. Okay, it's like I here in Atlanta, girl, it was almost 80 degrees today, and I did not turn the air conditioning on, but I did go out in the garden. And it's like these relationships that you have with people is like being in the garden.
You got to tend
Okay,
to them.
because
Yes.
you got to pull the weeds and throw
Mhm.
away the weeds and fertilize the flowers
Yes.
and
Wow, that's
fertilize the
beautifully
flowers.
stated. Yes.
Yes.
I love
So
that.
before we go, I want to touch on these last two
Yeah.
women in business. Okay, let's see. Let me get to it. Oh yeah, that's that. That's her stuff. Okay, you might find this one interesting. This is 1976 Dame Anita Roddick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, she was founder of the Body Shop.
Yes. Love the body shop.
The Body Shop. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But look, girl, look, she became interested in environmental activism
Yes,
at
I
an
love her.
early age through
Mm-hmm.
her world travels. What began as a way of living has emerged into a business with more than 2,100 stores and more than 77 million customers. All
Not
right.
so
Now,
shabby.
what you say, girl?
Not so shabby.
Not so shabby at all. And now, what set the Body Shop apart from other stores offering similar bath and hygiene products has been her commitment to running a company dedicated to the pursuit of
Mhm.
social and environmental change. That's right up your alley, isn't it,
I
Dana?
love her. Yes.
Right. Now, the Body Shop was established community trade relationship. Oh, she has established
Mhm.
community trade relationships in more than 20 countries. Last month, it announced a campaign with MTV to raise HIV and AIDS awareness among those under 25. Okay, because HIV is still around, y'all.
Yes, it is.
The Body Shop was purchased by the L'Oreal Group in 2006, and Roderick and her husband stepped down as co-chairman of the company in 2002. But she continued consult until her death from a brain hemorrhage at
Oh,
age
God.
60. At age
Four.
64.
She did so much good.
Yes, very much. That's why I thought you would really appreciate us adding her
I
to this
really, really do.
podcast.
Thank you.
You're
Yes.
so very welcome, my friend.
To Jim.
Oh, we all know this one.
The
Miss
OG. Yes.
OG, OW, Oprah, Oprah, Oprah was born in Kosciuszko, Mississippi. And now I've been to Kosciuszko, Mississippi.
Okie dokie. I have not.
I have been to Kosciuszko, Mississippi, which is a few stone throws away from the Indian casino. Okay.
Okie dokie.
From the casino. Okay. Now, she lived in poverty while growing up. Well,
Mhm.
Kosciuszko's changed since then, but despite a dysfunctional upbringing, Winfrey eventually received a full scholarship to Tennessee State University. Now, what's interesting about me, Dana, I got a scholarship, or I had an opportunity rather, to go to Tennessee State University for the track team. But my mom just felt that was just a little too far. Okay. And so I ended up going to the University of Wisconsin in
Mhm.
Madison. So, but yeah, she studied communications and worked at a local radio station on the side. And she got her big break, Dana, in 83 when she began a morning talk show in Chicago.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Donahue with his hair. Donahue was the man. Donahue was the man. But here comes Oprah, and she replaced him as the highest rated talk show in Chicago. Why is that, Dana? Because she related to women,
Yes.
and women are a large audience. Okay.
Yes.
Now there's more. Oprah is the founder of Oxygen Media, which operates a 24-hour cable television network for women. She produces Oprah and Friends on XM Radio, and this might be a little dated, but she launched the network on in the second half of 2009 on the Discovery Health Channel. From Broadway producer to actress to philanthropist, there seems to be no limit with Miss Oprah.
Yes. And I was telling you the other day, because we were talking about Oprah and our shared love of her. And it was when I was working in advertising, and her magazine launched, and it was just amazing. And she would always put in there, a question of like, where are you on your mental health? Like, have you, I feel she started the beginning of it's okay not to be okay. And she taught me through those magazine articles how to be vulnerable and how to really look to yourself to build yourself up, but also admit that you sometimes, we talked about earlier, we always try to be perfect and all these things. So sometimes, you just not been having a good day, and it's okay to not have a good day. And then, Naomi Osaka is somebody else we've talked about, and she's, had some mental health struggles, but she came out on the world stage and shared that. And it's like, I mean, can you imagine the pressure cooker those athletes are under and just everything they have to go through? It's mind blowing. And I just really appreciate both of these women saying it's okay not to be okay. And it's okay that you can take time to work on yourself.
Exactly.
And yes, been a big Oprah fan for decades.
Yes, me too. I've got a book. I got books and everything from Oprah and some old magazines. But yeah, I have really enjoyed this podcast, Dana, and being able to kind of break away from the standard, I guess, podcast. We're talking about more internal and personal things that really affect us externally when we have to deal with other people, whether that's just from a personal standpoint or from business.
Yes.
So that's going to conclude tonight's episode of Trip or Change. And I had already ran the ticker. Let me run the ticker again.
Yes.
Run the ticker podcast. Oh, there's my email address.
There's my
Dana's email address. Now let's go back to this one. What?
I said, there's mine too.
Oh, yeah. There's yours. There's yours. Okay. And this is how you can support us. Support our podcast. Sign up at triplechange.com. We take Cash App because our donations, the donations that you give will go toward a nonprofit organization. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Whether it's dogs or STEM or some other organization, we got you covered. Okay. We're also on Instagram at Trip or Change and YouTube. Be sure to go out to our YouTube channel and subscribe. All right, girl.
Yay. Another one in the books.
Okay. Again, thank you to our sponsor, Healthful Essence. Thank you. Right. And it is another one under the books. And so we will have an outline of what's coming up with in April. Oh, wait, April. In April. And again, what'd you say, girl?
Yeah, it is going to be April. Yeah,
it's going to be April. It's the first month of the second quarter.
Right?
Already.
Yes.
Already. And so we will have more information for you on the schedule for April. And don't forget, we will be broadcasting live from New York City. Yes.
Yes.
New York City. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think that does it. And remember that we all take a trip of change some way, somehow.
Keep evolving. Keep evolving.
Keep evolving. Keep evolving. All right, girl.
Okay.
Next time.
Great to see you. Mwah.
Mwah.
Bye.